I used to think a lightning talk was somebody ranting for 5 minutes about the quality of Apple's lightning charging cables. Not a good start, is it? The Bank of England added Alan Turing on the back of the £50 note. If they add him to the back of the £5 note, the £10 note, and the £20 note, does it make it Turing complete? You get a feel for this. If a self-driving car goes from London to Paris to Berlin and back to London and nobody notices there's a driver, has it passed the Turing test? If I have 8 drill bits and I put them in a box, does that become a drill byte? So a long is 32 bits and a long is 64 bits. So is 128 bits a chaise long? The trouble with set menus is the potatoes only come in 2 forms, sorted and hashed. My C++ is a bit rusty, so I thought I'd do some intensive training to keep up to date with what's undefined behavior. It was a crash course. I recently created a new concurrency primitive. If it discovers the thread is owned, the critical section is owned by another thread, it terminates it. I call it a hemlock. Some people usually ask me, when do you use a char and when do you use a WCHT? And I say, well, it's easy. A char is for narrow characters, like I and 1 and L. And a W char is for wide characters, like M or W. Simple. I've never understood why people use the plus operator for string concatenation. It just doesn't add up. It took me an awfully long time to read a book about algorithmic complexity. And then I realized it was written by an author called Owen Squared. Any problem with a dependency injection framework can be solved by an extra level of misdirection. Our functional programmers are arsonists. They spend a lot of time playing with matches. A friend of mine decided to become a property developer. He only wants to write getters and setters. If I create a bash script with just 2 characters, the hash and the exclamation mark, would that be the whole shebang? Is the maximum rate that you can write characters to a console window known as terminal velocity? I had problems with my dial-up connection the other day. It dropped down from 33K down to 14.4 and then 9600 and then 2400. I thought, this doesn't bode well. Showing your age. The other day I tried to set up a VPN over a fibre link cable, but I had to give up in the end as there was no light at the end of the tunnel. When visiting the offices of Intel, if I want to take a trip down memory lane, do I go via the North Bridge or the South Bridge? Is it any wonder CPU chip manufacturers struggle with vulnerabilities like Spectrum Meltdown when their requirements are speculative? I was very disappointed with Martin Feather's 2nd edition of his refactoring book. It was exactly the same content, but the chapters were just in different order. I decided to have a go at some robotics, so I built an arm that changed the cartridge in my console. I thought it was quite innovative. In fact, I thought it was a game changer. If I have a for next loop in BASIC and it just has some comments, does that make it REM sleep? A friend of mine said he's fed up with writing web services in Ruby. He's going to do it in PHP or Python. I think it's gone off the rails. I always thought When I'm 64 should have been written by the Commodores. The people who joined Twitter after the 24th of July 2023, are they known as Generation X? The other day, my timeline was filled with tweets from John Romero, John Carmack, and Adrian Carmack. I felt like I was doom scrolling. Thank you.